Okay, so we're going to get back to this whole trying to build some accurate rifles thing again. I've decided to take an approach borrowed from Harold Vaughn. Harold took a novel approach. He's a scientist. He wrote a book a while back called Rifle Accuracy Facts. And one of the things that struck me about the book when I started reading it was he approached accuracy in a way that I found somewhat novel. He decided to isolate the things that make a gun not shoot. And I've been trying for a while with this YouTuber thing. I started this saying what we're going to do is we're going to build some guns. We're going to put together some super accurate firearms. We're going to take them out and shoot them. I've got my range set up. I can record in real time. Got a lot of cool stuff. The problem is, as I start down this analysis road of, no, that's the wrong way to put it. We have to analyze why things work and why they don't. I've been hoping to show you in real time with real examples of good, accurate firearms. What I've decided is, to make this work, I'm going to bring the camera around here and show you what I've done differently, where I felt I've had to take it. I've got a whole table full of stuff. I've decided that basically what I'm going to have to do is, see if we got this right. Instead of building a gun, I'm going to build a series of guns. I'm going to do a bunch of guns. I've decided to go with about 5. And I'm going to use Harold's idea. Again, Rifle Accuracy Facts. This is a book that I found fascinating. Make sure I got the light on it right here and that you can read it. I've still got the focus way out there, so let's get it focused where it wants to be. Harold Vaughn, the book is hard to find anymore. I'm going to take the dust jacket off just because I'm like that. I don't like to beat up the dust jacket. But what he did is he went through, he introduced himself, and I have to give him a lot of credit because although he was a shooter, he wasn't a high-end accuracy like a bench rest type shooter. So he enlisted to help with some bench rest guys. And it says here, some 45 years ago when I started big game hunting, I became dissatisfied with the accuracy of commercial rifles. Goes on, he became a rocket scientist. Builds his own things. He worked with, I believe it's Sandia Laboratories. It's been so long since I've read this. I read it and reread it back in the day. It's probably got a little bibliography here in the back. Anyway, this is a real scientist, a real guy, and he approached this. Now he went, I feel like he haired off on some rabbit trails that maybe aren't the way I would have gone. One of the things, I talked to him quite a bit on the phone before he passed. He wrote this book, and he had enough for 2 more full books in his all different subjects. He had not just to elucidate or to expand on the subjects that he covered in here, but he had 2 more books worth of stuff. But essentially what he isolated was that the key to accuracy, well, I have to be careful with the words that I'm using, is control of vibrations. And he goes through a lot of things here. Internal ballistics have to do with, well, that's internal ballistics and case failure and the burn characteristics of different powders, which lends into barrel time and a bunch of things. Maybe, though, they're not crucial to accuracy. We don't know that sort of thing yet. Chamber and throat design. How the bullet enters the barrel. How the bullet engraves into the riflings. How the bullet enters First of all, understand it's being hammered on with a 600-pound hammer. 50, 60, 70, 80,000 psi, but that's not the thing. It takes an actual 500 pounds of force. And you take a bullet, I came kind of unprepared, but a typical bullet is lead inside of a swaged or a squeezed outer jacket. You hit that with 500 pounds and it just turns to mush, all right? So he talks about chamber and throat design, then he goes into barrel vibration, and barrel vibration goes on and on. I mean, it's long, it's acceleration moments, firing pin impact. He mentions that receiver modifications and asymmetries. All of these things lend themselves to how the firearm vibrates. And he talks about vertical dispersion versus horizontal dispersion. Then goes into, I mean, there's other actions, throat erosion, etc., etc. Scope sight problems. He shows how scope bases move a lot. Barrel, receiver, threaded joint motion. This is really a big one right here. I don't even find the lead in. There we go. This is one we're going to talk about a lot. This is one I'm doing a lot of work on right now. Threaded joint motion. That is that the barrel is screwed in, and when you fire, it tries to disrupt and move around. All right? Muzzle blast. Asymmetries at the muzzle, crowning, the importance, bullet core problems, what the core does. The interesting thing about the fact that when that pressure hits and the heat and the time, what happens to... So there's a lot in your bullet imbalance. He builds his own stuff, external ballistics. But I bring this up only to say that I'm taking my Odyssey a different direction. I'm going to have to build a series of guns. And not answering that phone right at this moment. I'm going to have to build a series of guns, which is what I'm going to do, and we're going to try to isolate. The problem always lies in isolating what the issues are. In my mind, there's 4, 5, 6, 8 big ones that have to do with rifle accuracy. And it starts with and ends with vibration control. It's always about vibration control. And we're going to try to, we're going to show, we're going to build, I'm even going to try, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to build some guns on designs that have never been done before. I'm going to try to go point by point by point, isolating and fixing, I guess for lack of a better term, the problems. Right now, the most accurate guns on the planet are specifically bench rest rifles. I will say that 96% of all bench rest rifles are chambered in the 6mm PPC. I will further say that well over 90% of them, 95%, 98% of all winning rifles are glue-ins. That means that the action and the stock are glued together. I think it's very important that we understand that that's a part of the equation. I call it, and this is just my idea of how it, since we're talking about vibration control, I call it the tuning fork principle. I submit that the stock and the barrel and the scope and everything has to work together and ring like a tuning fork for it to come, first of all, to release the bullet, and then to just to give it repeatability. I'm stumbling here because I'm just starting this out. I may well redo this, but I don't normally redo anything. So we'll work on this as we go. Suffice it to say that right now we're going to try to isolate and build and combine ideas and try to put together what I want to do. My big thing is I want I want bench rest accuracy in a gun that's bigger than the PPC. The height of accuracy right now has been essentially achieved. Now I know that that's dangerous. There are incremental things, but right now there are guns on this planet that will shoot 25 rounds into, oh man, into a hole that size right there. Trying to look here to get it lined up on the camera. At 100 yards. 10th minute of angle. Guns that will shoot in the zeros. So what we're going to try to do is bring those ideas across into more usable guns. The PPC is a wonderful gun. It's a wonderful thing. But it's limited in its ability to, say, hunt elk or bear or even deer. So we're going to take these ideas, for the last 35 years, I've been doing exactly that. I set out on this quest to prove that the PPC, number one, is not all that. I found that it is all that. But that it's more than the PPC, it's a whole system. We're going to try to take you on a journey, building some guns, approaching these problems, and when we're all done, we're going to fire these things and find out if they actually do exhibit bench rest accuracy. And for me it's easy because I have bench rest guns built by bench rest people, glued in, state-of-the-art bench rest stuff. I can go out on a given day and shoot those little bitty tiny dots. Do it all the time. So I have something to benchmark against. I have a standard against which to compare what it is that we're going to do. So this is kind of the opening salvo in this latest direction I'm gonna take. We've done a little neck turning in the past, we've done a little fire forming, we've done a little shooting, we've done a little bit. Every time I get sent off in a different direction. So I've spent some time, I've taken a hiatus, as they say, a sabbatical, and I've thought about how I'm going to do this in a way that stacks together. At one point I started a reloading seminar, and I found that not a seminar per se, but I started a reloading course or a reloading series of segments. I got 5 or 6 of them in the can here, and they're kind of disjointed. And partway along I realized I'm not really ready to do this as a reloading thing because I have to start. I design a gun, I design a firearm around the lead. I pick a bullet, I pick a lead angle, check the ogive of the bullet, and then I build the entire firearm around that. I work forward and backward in the bore to find a straight section, and then the whole firearm blossoms from that. Case capacity, bullet weight, all of this stuff. So it's kind of backwards, but it's kind of frontwards because I've done it every different way that it can be done. I've had people build, I've had guns built to somebody else's spec or reamer. One of my first big epiphanies was that I called Redding, actually I called Lester Bruno, or I called Sinclair or somebody, and I said, hey, go out and find all the Redding 300 WSM dies. I think it was a WSM. And I'll pay you to measure them. All I want you to do is take a cartridge case out, open up every box, and just poke that case in and mark it with your thumb. Find the one that goes in my case, I wanted the tightest one. So the one that goes in the shallowest. Send that off to my reamer maker. Had a reamer built, had a gun built, and it all came back to, I started with a bullet, came out to the case, boom, 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 boom. It was an utter failure. Terribly, terribly bad. All the fits were good, but it was a terrible failure. So, I tried many different iterations of how to spec from the ground up and start and go all the way through, and now I'm starting differently. And we're going to go through the steps, and we're going to try to approach each of the things that the bench rest community has approached and solved, and apply them to things that may well be still bench rest, long-range bench rest. Like the 300 WSM is a great 1,000 yard cartridge. It's a great competition cartridge as well as a hunting cartridge. But it must be understood that the recoil impulse of the 300 WSM is tremendous when compared to the 6 PPC. I built stuff all the way up into and including 50 BMG But the 338 is a big focus of mine, and building big 338 hunting guns I've become quite adept at. I can build a 1/4 minute. That's a big deal. A gun that'll ag or shoot aggregate groups at a 1/4 inch. 5-shot groups, not little 3-shot once in a while. So that's where we're headed with this, and I'm just gonna take off each thing, how we're going to fix the gun, how we're going to affix the scope, how we're going to affix the bases, how we're going to balance top to bottom, and we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, it's another attempt at trying to explain accuracy, show you accuracy, and get you involved in accuracy, which is where my main focus.